Welcome to the Expansive Astrology Podcast, where we look at using astrology beyond the tropes and horoscopes to tune into the natural forces around us and within us, honoring our true nature to craft our future. I'm your host, Melissa, the Self-Care Witch, and I'm here to help you meet your magic. Without further ado, let's begin this week's episode with a tarot reading for the collective. Welcome back. This is episode 6, which is all about the Lover's card in the tarot, which is card number 6. And I didn't realize that it would line up like that. Tell me that isn't magic. But before we get into all the magic that the Lovers brings and how it's related to Gemini and how Gemini season invites us into this energy and medicine as well, let's see what the cards have for us this week, shall we? Okay, so this is the collective tarot reading for the week. Take what you need and leave the rest. You might not resonate with everything I say right now, but stay open to seeing how these things might play out for you over the coming week. So, what is present for us is the Four of Pentacles. So the Pentacles are earth. So they are everything about what it is to be a soul in a human body on the planet Earth. They kind of encompass what it is to work, what it is to survive here, what it is to make money, how we engage with our bodies, how we engage with our surroundings and our materials. The Pentacles kind of take us on this journey of discovering what it is to say yes to our soul as humans living this existence where we have to pay taxes and have a day job. How can we stay soul-centered even given all of those truths? And the Four of Pentacles, fours are kind of like this nod to boundaries in a lot of ways. So the Four of Pentacles is an invitation to make sure that we have proper boundaries. So in the Smith-Waite deck, we see a being who seems to be very guarded, protected, closed off. They have a pentacle at each foot. They have a pentacle right on their forehead, basically, and they have one gripped tightly to the chest with both arms. That image kind of inspires two different trains of thought. Okay, the first is once we've gotten to the four, okay, there's like a part of me that wants to try to keep this concise. And then another part of me that's like, is that possible? So I'm gonna do my best. But first of all, the Suit of Pentacles from the Ace to the 10 takes us on this journey where we're handed this seed and we're cultivating, we're tending it, we're planting it, we're handed this seed in the Ace. And then in the 2, we're devoted to the seed, we're learning the seed, we're focused on the seed, playing with the seed, really learning what it is to hold these pentacles and stay focused and devoted to these pentacles. In the 3, there's this other level of devotion and mastery and learning, and some will say that the 3 of Pentacles is about like bringing in outside expertise or outside help. But either way, by the time we've gotten to the 4, we've done so much work and growing with these pentacles already. We're learning what it is to tend to pentacles and to have pentacles and to be in a relationship with pentacles. And there's this sense in the 4 that this person is really proud of what they've accomplished, how many pentacles they've acquired. There's this sense that this person is like resting on the pentacles, moving with the pentacles, like making decisions based on the pentacles. There's this sense that we're invited to really look at how far we've come, what we're working with, what we've accomplished, and how we're building our life from there. Many people will read the Four of Pentacles as like this like scarcity mindset, like you need to open up your arms, you don't need to be so guarded. And I do appreciate that, and I resonate with that. But then I bring it back to the boundaries piece. And here's maybe where that second train of thought takes me is how can we stay devoted to our pentacles, stay proud of where we've come from and what we've earned and what we've learned, and really stay devoted to like our practices in a really balanced and open way. So that means engaging with boundaries, right? We can look at the being in the Four of Pentacles card as using the pentacles that they've earned and devoted to and grown, using them as like a shield to physically protect his body. So that's another sense of the invitation of the Four of Pentacles is how can you make sure that you are staying the course, right? Sticking to the path, staying devoted to like saying yes to the soul and like tending these seeds and these roots that you're working on growing without overextending yourself, without closing yourself off to the rest of the world, without compromising your body. There's this question with the Four of Pentacles. There's this question of like, what am I authorizing into my world? What am I authorizing into my body? What am I authorizing into my space, my energy, my time? Are they safe? Are they protective? Are they healthy? Are they aligned with this garden that I'm growing, these pentacles that I'm tending? So what I'm getting from this, from pulling the Four of Pentacles as present for us this week, we're invited into some questioning, some pondering, kind of taking inventory. Am I, are we, are you, am I, are we, are all of us? Are you staying the course? Are you making moves based on what is a soul guided yes? Are you protecting yourself? Like maintaining your boundaries? And are you being overprotective? Like, can you maybe, can you loosen your grip a little bit? I sense into this with the Four of Pentacles. There's this like balance of like feeling really proud and protective over what you have and where you've come from and where you're going and what you're working on, without the tension that can come with that like pride and protection. Can you kind of loosen up and feel proud and protective, but also like loosen up a little bit, know that you're safe as long as you are maintaining your boundaries and not authorizing things or people or experiences or substances, not authorizing things into your space that don't align with where you're trying to build these pentacles, that don't align with what you're building in your garden. Supporting that is the Empress. Speaking of like a garden, commonly the Empress will be likened to like very feminine, motherly, nurturing energy. And I think the Empress is so much more than that, but I do name that to kind of help establish like a baseline of like what we're walking into. To say that the Empress is like the mother of the tarot is just so incomplete, because not everybody's understanding of a mother is what the Empress is all about, right? Everybody has a different relationship with the archetype of mother. So when I read the Empress, I know that it's an invitation to surrender to pleasure. The Empress is an invitation to surrender, to become an artist of beauty and pleasure and love, right? To kind of open yourself, to open ourselves to receiving pleasure and love, really keeping our hearts open and staying with the heart. The Empress is an invitation to receive. And we can place ourselves in a position of receiving very actively, with some mindset work, right? Like receiving the joy of hugging your partner when they get home from work, receiving the medicine of a bubble bath, receiving all the nutrients of your dinner. We can really practice receiving. I like the phrasing of like becoming an artist of pleasure, becoming an artist of receiving, like really creating these things for ourselves. So what's present for us this week is the Four of Pentacles supported by the Empress. And I always say this, anytime we pull a major, it's an invitation to surrender to this energy. It's just kind of a heads up, a nod that this energy is here to support us and inspire us and guide us should we choose to engage with it. So having the Empress here is kind of this nod where we get to say like, ooh, yay, I see you, Empress. Okay. How can I open? That's kind of, it gets meta with the Empress because it's like, how can I open to receiving your medicine, Empress, which is all about opening to receiving. That's interesting. But so that Four of Pentacles invitation of embracing pride, evaluating our boundaries, making sure that we are staying in alignment, staying protected, maintaining boundaries around our work and our body without it coming from like a scarcity mindset type of place. And that's supported by the Empress, where you're kind of challenged or invited to receive beauty where you are and position yourself in a place of positioning yourself so that you are available to receiving more pleasure and beauty. So I always say this, like to one-on-one clients, make sure that if what you're wanting is a hug, that you are approaching the situation as huggable. You know, I'll speak for myself. There are times where maybe I'm just grumpy, I'm tired, and whatever's going on, for whatever reason, I just need a little extra love. And sometimes when I need a little extra love, it's because I'm like stressed out or not feeling so great, you know. And when I'm stressed out and not feeling so great, I can be a little prickly. And if what I want is extra love, and if what I want is understanding and a hug and like an ear or a shoulder to cry on or whatever, um, I'm much more likely to get that need met if I'm being approachable, if I'm being huggable. There are times where I'll kind of be like storming around the house and I might not even be aware that what I'm needing is a hug. um, and sometimes that awareness will come to me in like, you know, maybe my husband will call it out and be like, what's wrong with you? Why are you storming around here? What's going on? Can I check in with you? It seems like you're stressed out. And sometimes my ego will want to respond and be like, obviously I'm stressed out. How could you even ask that? Obviously I need a hug. That's not the best way to get the hug that I desire. That's not the best way to get that need met. So the Empress and this conversation that we're going to be having later today, about like the lovers, is kind of along the same theme, but this idea of placing yourself in a position where you'll be able to receive those things that you need, opening yourself, and which can be, it can feel impossible, it can feel really scary, it can feel really unsafe to open ourselves. But when we close ourselves off, which we do out of protection, we do that because terrible things happen, hurtful things have happened. So our heart kind of hardens and we get scared and closed off. And when we're in that space, it's it's a lot harder to receive any beauty and pleasure and joy and love. When our heart is closed and hardened, it's that much harder to receive the goodness in life. So the work, the practice, the invitation is to stay open, even though heartbreaking things happen. So that's what's present for us this week. The lesson for the week is the Knight of Swords, which I smile at because the Knight of Swords is ruled by Gemini. So the Knight of Swords is mutable air. And as a lesson, it's very powerful, very valuable. So in the Knight of Swords, this is like the fastest moving knight that there is. And the swords are about how we think, how we communicate, our brain chemistry, the stories that our brain tells us, our beliefs. The knights are about how we move through the world. So we're considering, how do we move through the world as beings with very strong, very active brains? There's this message in the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords reminds us that we can go farther than we think we can. We can go faster than we think we can. The limits that our brain imposes upon us, we don't have to, might not be true. Sometimes we can go farther and faster than the brain is comfortable with. We can go farther and faster than the brain can even fathom is possible. So, as a lesson, the Knight of Swords asks us, like, where are you placing limitations on yourself? What do you believe is possible for you? How much do you believe you're capable of? How far do you believe you can go? How much do you believe you can handle? And are you willing to be proven wrong? Are you willing to be swept away and go farther and faster and more fully than your brain can even conceive of? Are you willing to go farther and faster than feels safe? Because you can choose to feel safe your whole life. Plenty of people do. It's a perfectly valid choice, and in fact it's like the reasonable choice. Where are your edges though? What do you believe is possible? Are you willing to consider that you're wrong about that? And are you willing to be uncomfortable and expand past the edge of what your brain believes is possible? Are you willing to fly, to follow divine inspiration, to fall into flow and just fly with it? Knowing that your brain, in the card, the horse is kind of like freaked out. Like the knight is going almost faster than the horse can tolerate. Um, and they're safe. They're divinely guided. They're going sword first, which doesn't mean in this scenario, in this case, when I say sword first, I don't mean brain first. I mean like inspiration first. So the Knight of Swords, as our lesson for the week, is an invitation to kind of consider, where are you playing it safe? How far do you believe you can go? What do you believe is possible for you? Are you open to the idea that you're wrong about that? Are you willing to feel uncomfortable for the sake of expansion? Are you willing to welcome that in? And showing up as our anchor for the week, what do we do with all of this? Knowing that the Four of Pentacles is present for us, supported by the Empress, and our lesson is the Knight of Swords. Our anchor in the midst of all of that is the Three of Cups. Now, every cup card is an invitation to connect with our heart more deeply, to touch in with the heart in some way, to open to the heart, to open to our emotions in some way. And in the Three of Cups, we see three people joining together in like ritual celebration. So many people will pull the three and read it as a time to get together with friends or mentors to bring in community support. And I'm all for that. And I always want to mention it because our brain, many of us, our brain has all sorts of tricks and ways to convince us to isolate ourselves and stay alone. So any sort of nod from spirit, inviting us not to isolate, inviting us to be in community with one another. I always want to speak to that for sure. And I also love to consider the tarot cards in such a way that none of them rely on anything outside of us. I like to try to read the cards in such a way that we can relate with each card independently, like as we are, not hinging on any external person, circumstance, feeling, or experience. So if we look at the Three of Cups and consider, okay, so there's these three beings in ritual celebration, but how do we embrace that and embody that as an individual? It's an invitation to be in community with all parts of ourselves, even the shadowy parts. It's an invitation to tap in with our shadows, our inner child, our inner adult, our inner 80-year-old. It's an invitation to tap in with our guides, our ancestors. It's an invitation to be in community with our body, mind, body, and spirit. It's an invitation to be in community with our brain, our heart, and our hands. How can you be in like celebratory ritual community with all pieces and parts of yourself? This anchor is inviting us to honor and acknowledge the pieces of us that are painful to acknowledge, the pieces of us that we try to hide away and avoid or like heal away from. This anchor, the Three of Cups, is inviting us to be in community with all pieces of ourselves. What are you resisting being with? Can you be with even those things? Welcome them in, even those things. My tarot teacher, Lindsay Mack, experiences chronic pain. And she reads the Three of Cups as an invitation to be with even that part of her, even the, sick or unwell parts of her. Being in community with even those parts can be a really difficult thing to do. And that's our anchor for this week. So kind of starting there and working backward. Our anchor for this week is to be in community with all parts of ourselves, to welcome in our shadows, our guides, our gut, our inner teacher, our inner adult, the tired parts of us, the sick parts of us, the scared parts of us, welcoming in. And sometimes we need permission to be with the great parts of us too. Like, can you also be with the part of you that is really wise, very intuitive, funny, beautiful, smart, hardworking? Our anchor for this week is inviting us to sit at the make room at the table for all the parts of us, all the pieces and parts of us. The lesson for the week is reminding us that our brain doesn't know everything and it doesn't have to be in control. Our beliefs about our limits, our beliefs about our capacity for things and our capability, and our beliefs about what's possible for us might be completely untrue. And if we're willing to go with the flow and lean into that and trust that, life will take us much farther than we ever imagined in the greatest of ways. And what's present for us this week is an invitation to feel proud, to keep working hard, to know how far we've come, and keep like doing the work, and also make sure we're maintaining our boundaries, not overextending ourselves, not working too hard, staying really open and welcoming in abundance, supported by the idea that we can receive and create and foster pleasure and joy and beauty and nurturance everywhere we go, with every step we take. I think that's all that the cards have to say for us this week. I really like it. I hope it was useful or inspiring for you. I'm interested to hear how this shows up for you over the course of the next week. But without further ado, let's chat about the expansive astrology of the moment. It's our last week of Gemini season, and we're finally talking about the lovers. And you may have noticed the title of this episode is "The Universe is a Mirror." I'm really excited to talk about that and to go into that because it's truly such an empowering message that is actually present for us all year long. The Lovers is the sixth, and we're in a 6th year. 2022 is in numerology is six. So these invitations, this theme of the Lovers, is present for us all year long. And in my work with one-on-one clients, I've seen it come up so like presently, so poignantly, and it's such an important lesson. It's like such important energy to move through. The Lovers brings such a an incredible opportunity for us to grow and expand, and it comes right before the Chariot, which is like this graduation point. It's such necessary work, and being in it and seeing these lessons and like, oh, it's hard. It like kind of it can be so frustrating when you realize you're in a Lover's experience. I think frustrating is the word that I would use. I don't know. um, so what is the Lovers? Oh, the Lovers. Where do you start with the Lovers? I'm going to start with where I started with the Lovers years ago when I was a baby witch tarot newbie. I thought it was obvious that the Lovers are some sort of signal that there will be luck in your love life, that it's some sort of signal that your lover is here or near. I thought it had to do with a lover of some sort. And so I would pull it. I have a very specific memory of going on a camping trip with my husband way before he was my husband, way before, like early on in our relationship. And there was some sort of bickering going on or disagreeing or just tension about the trip in general. You know how like traveling can be, it can be really tense sometimes. And we weren't having the best time at the beginning of our trip. And I pulled the Lovers, and I was like, it was just this like, oh, sigh of relief. I was like, oh, good. Oh, good. Okay, we're good. We're good. We're good. It's okay. We're good. This trip can be great. This is my man. Like, it gave me this like boost of confidence, this like reassurance that I was safe, the relationship was safe, that there was gonna be luck in my relationship. That's how I read the card. So because of that boost of confidence, I would then, I would kind of shake it off and show up like the lover that I wanted to be, like um, because I perceived it as this sign of good luck or sign that things were in alignment, that completely changed my perspective. And I, you know, put the deck away and turn around with a completely different mindset, a mindset of trust and faith, um, a mindset that this trip was going to be great, this relationship was great. It would be like this instant shift into, okay, well, so if this is a sign of like good fortune in my relationship, then I don't need to be worried. I don't need to be angry. I could drop the fear, open my heart, and then I would show up more open, more forgiving, lighter, more joyful. Again, like I would embody the lover that I wanted to be. And then it would be great. The rest of the trip would be great. I would connect more with Travis. And so seemingly the card was true. It took me some time to realize that that card was working in a way that I wasn't totally aware of. And it's Soul Tarot by Lindsay Mack that teaches that none of the cards can hinge on anything external. So when we pull the Lovers, it's not about the fact that there's love in my life and that the relationship is great. That is an incomplete interpretation of the card because it doesn't apply to everybody. Not everybody has a lover, wants a lover, is seeking a lover. So, what was happening for me in me? Like, what was that card actually signaling? What was that card actually doing? It's not a sign that the relationship was on track. Rather, it was an invitation for me to remember that I am the Lovers. It was a reminder that I was putting too much emphasis on something outside of me. Yeah, I was putting too much weight and responsibility on something outside of me. I didn't realize it, but the Lovers was really a lesson of personal responsibility. A reminder that I had a responsibility to show up to the camping trip and to show up to my life and to show up to the relationship with personal responsibility, to show up and craft and provide what I want, what I want to be experiencing and creating. If I wanted to have a good camping trip, if I wanted to have an easy, joyful, pleasant time with this man, I needed to take personal responsibility for myself and how I was showing up and how I was going to craft that camping trip into something beautiful and memorable and healthy, you know? Are you forgetting that you are being reflected back to you? Are you seeking yourself outside of yourself? And this doesn't just have to relate to a lover or a partner, a relationship of some sort. Are you seeking yourself in your line of work? Are you seeking yourself in anything external? It could be your work, it could be your identities, like if you're a parent or um, other labels that we identify with. Are you seeking yourself in certain achievements or like milestones or goals or life experiences? We do this in so many ways all the time. We lay importance on something outside of us. Are you laying importance on something outside of you rather than internalizing it and taking personal responsibility for the thing? You know, what will this partnership give you or prove to you or mean to you? What will this partnership mean about yourself? What will it tell you about you? What will getting married tell you about you? What will becoming a parent or owning a home or hitting a certain number on social media or earning that degree or that raise or getting that promotion? What will losing the weight do for you? What will that mean for you? What will that give you? And how can you step into that, tap in with that, be that, embody that already without necessarily having that external thing? There are times when we'll be seeking a relationship or the approval of a person or attention from a person, acceptance from a person so deeply we become kind of obsessed with it. And some version of this conversation has happened like a handful of times in my career as a counselor. where I'll be speaking with somebody and they'll be grappling with some new relationship and just like totally stressing about, is it working? Is it gonna work? What do I do? How do we, like, the sweet, sweet agony of navigating like a new relationship or navigating dating, um, it can be so fun. And we'll be talking about this and exploring this, and like, there was one time in particular that this young woman was just totally stressing about this guy. And it took some time before I realized, like, the way she was talking about him. I was like, I don't think she even really likes this guy. He didn't align with what I knew to be her values and her goals. And she was having so much trouble dating him, and I was like, she doesn't even like him. And so I asked her, but she was so caught up in whether or not he liked her and whether or not she was acceptable and whether or not she was showing up as like likable enough. um Meanwhile, she hadn't even considered until I said, like, what do you like about this guy? Do you even like this guy? It doesn't sound like you even like this guy. She hadn't even fucking considered it. And I remember her so specifically because it was like, you know, um, it was such like a mic drop moment for me as a counselor to help her realize that. But it had, like, I've had the same conversation with more than just her. I know it, like, it's not just her, and I've been there too. We get so caught up in seeking acceptance and validation that we kind of forget or don't even evaluate where we're seeking it from. We don't even evaluate or realize that we're putting way too much emphasis on that external thing, on that validation, on that acceptance, whether it's some sort of accomplishment or whether it's a relationship with some person that you don't even actually like. Are you forgetting that you are being reflected back to yourself? So these things that we seek, the things that we see in the things that we seek, already exist inside of us. We can tap in with those things without putting too much emphasis or too much weight on things that are external. We give our power away by doing that. So, like, just to reemphasize, the question is, like, what part of that thing, what part of that person or that thing or that job or that phase, that identity, that title, what part of what that means matters most to you? We get to reclaim the importance of those things. This is about our innate lovability, our innate power. It's about each of our ability to be the lovers, be the twins. It's about our ability to be one in and of yourself and to be of another. This reminder that we are constantly reflected back to ourselves. We go about it backwards. We seek ourselves in such a backwards way where we like use what we're expressing. We use what we are. We use what we're producing in the world. We use these external things, whatever it is, our body, our relationships, our job title, our financial status, the car we drive, the home we're in, all of the things. We use all of the external things as some sort of measure, as some sort of map of what we are. We get to bring it back to our, and that's backwards. What we are creates these things. We get to bring back into ourselves what it is we're offering to others, what it is we're seeking from others. We get to bring that back into ourselves, asking, like, what is it about this thing that's so important? What is it that I'm seeking? How can I foster that for myself right now? How can I stop giving the power over to this person, place, thing, event, whatever? And we don't just do this with like what we want to be. We do this with the things that we hate too. Like when we have a very strong distaste for certain things, if we find ourselves having a very strong reaction to something about a person or certain traits, our pet peeves about people, those things are a signal. Those very strong reactions are a signal. And you get to check in and ask, what is it about that thing? What does that mean to me? What is it about that thing that bothers me so much? And here's the shit part. Here's the tough question is, how is that alive in me? How is it alive in me that bothers me so much? I know for me, there are times where if there's someone I really admire or if there's someone I'm kind of jealous of, sometimes my brain, my ego will invite me into, it's not just jealousy, but like really ugly judgment of the person, I'll feel really annoyed by them. If I feel this like annoyance or this jealousy, if I'm having some sort of really strong negative reaction to somebody, it's a clue. I really tap in. Like, what is it about that person that's bothering me so much? And like 100% of the time, it's something that I possess too, or it's something that I engage with as well. It's an imperfection that might be very much alive inside of me that I hate to see externalized. I hate to see it. So I have a very strong reaction to it. So let me give a real example of that. There's a woman that I follow on Instagram who does similar work to me. She's very different from me, but like in the same niche, in the same line of work. And there are times that I'll perceive her to be trying too hard or trying too hard to like prove herself. She'll compare herself to other women in the space. And there's something that I perceive about it as her trying to prove herself of her I perceive it as her being insecure and her ego like needing to prove her worth, her value. And I have no idea if that's what's going on for her, right? But I know that happens for me. And I know that there have been times that because my ego has this need to like prove myself and establish myself as, like educated and valuable, proving my work is just as valuable as the next guy. That desire inside of me has made me show up in a really like desperate way. There was one time in particular that I got into a conflict on Twitter for calling out a tarot reader, feeling like that reader wasn't providing the value that she should, or that I thought that she should. And me calling her out or me posting about it, me quote tweeting her was, I'm not proud of it. But it was totally coming from a place of like, hey, but look at me. Like, look at how much value I provide and how little value this person provides. That was like it was totally my ego speaking. Really not cute. I can't believe I'm admitting this on a podcast, but I did it. I shared, like, I can't believe, I don't know exactly what I said, but I it was coming from a place of me feeling the need to prove myself and prove my value. And doing so taught me a really big lesson. I learned that is a part of my ego, a part of my like shadow that will come out and take the wheel and steer the car if I allow it to, if I don't keep it in check. But if I perceive that in another person, if I see that reflected in them, I get really turned off to it, and I have to be really careful because I have this sensitivity to that. I have this sensitivity to having to like overprove your value, I guess. So I have to be really careful or I'll see it everywhere. And that's part of what the lover says. It reminds us, it shows us, it brings us into like evaluation of the ways that we're projecting. The things that we see in other people are actually alive in ourselves, the good and the bad, you know, the beautiful and totally lovable and totally aligned and enlightened things, the admirable things that we see in other people and we look up to, those things are alive in you. And the things that really turn you off and annoy you and concern you, those things also might be alive in you. So we take personal responsibility. We look at these things, we do the work to integrate all these pieces of us, you know, to reclaim responsibility over how we're showing up in the world and what is being reflected back to us. Now, this is like such an important disclaimer. This doesn't count when it comes to being abused or like mistreated, right? Or living in poverty. It's not about what we have. It's not about the external things. It's about where we're placing emphasis on external things to feel lovable, to feel valuable, to experience pleasure and joy. Where do you feel like you're lacking? Can you reclaim responsibility for those things? Can you provide for yourself? The lover's work allows us to integrate all these parts of ourselves to reclaim responsibility and to show up in a more congruent way. We get to show up and be congruent with those things that we're seeking externally. We get to show up and internalize and integrate those pieces of ourselves that we keep giving away. And this lover's work is what prepares us to step into the chariot, which is the tarot energy that rules Cancer season, which is next. But this lover's work, we're reclaiming responsibility for what we're seeking. We stop externalizing and projecting, and we get really real about our personal responsibility, our influence, our personal power. And then we step into the chariot where it's like this graduation point and we're considering like, have I gone as far as I can go in this chariot? Is it time to step out of this chariot and into something new? What is it about this chariot that still serves? And what is it about this chariot that's keeping me stuck? Which prepares us for the strength card, where we're meeting our heart. We step out of the chariot and into the strength card of meeting our heart in an undefended way, taming the lion within, being tamed. So this lover's work is foundational, preparational. So don't forget, nothing outside of you can tell you who you are. No professional accomplishment can tell you how intelligent you are and how capable you are. No, getting married won't prove to you that you're lovable and like worth committing to. losing 50 pounds won't prove to you that you are beautiful or sexy. Don't put too much weight on anything outside of you. Reverse engineer that shit. Learn how to know that you are lovable, smart, capable, worthy, beautiful, sexy, even before you have any of those things, even before anyone else shows you or proves it to you. The Lovers invites you to do that for yourself. And also just to nod to the Jungian idea of the Lovers, which predates like the Smith-Waite pack. And the image on the card is like this Cupid is flying above this young man who is seemingly deciding between another young looking like blonde lady and an older, more matronly looking older woman. In that really old school depiction, it like invites this interpretation of like what will he do? How will he make the decision? Some people would interpret the older, more matronly looking woman as his mother, or just like a motherly older woman in general, whether there's like a sexual relationship there or not. It like just invites this idea of like, how will he make the decision? What will he go with? Will he move toward the younger looking woman who he might like relate with more, and she might be like more sexually compatible, or will he go with the more sensible route and stay with the other woman who, while she may not be as exciting or as blonde, she surely brings, other great things to the table for him. And or will he is it even his choice, or does Cupid make the decision? So there's still this idea of like personal responsibility. What will he choose? How will he get his needs met? Is he there's like, is he going to follow his head or his heart? Is he gonna just listen to what his mommy says, or is he gonna just listen to what this like young love infatuation says? Personal responsibility. What are you seeking? What is he seeking, and how is he gonna get that met? So that's the Lovers, and on the day of this upload, we have a super full moon in Sagittarius. So moving into the astrological forecast. It's our last week of Gemini season, and with a full moon in Sagittarius. So this is really supporting us in examining the duality of what Gemini brings us and what Sagittarius brings us. Gemini and Sagittarius oppose each other. They're on opposite ends of the zodiac. So that doesn't necessarily mean that everything that Gemini is, Sagittarius is the opposite. Like, it's not quite that like literal, because they're actually quite similar in certain ways. They're both mutable. Gemini is air and Sagittarius is fire, but there's this like desire for knowledge. There's this desire to know things and connect things and to grow. This desire for expansion and expression with both the Gemini and Sagittarius. I think where Gemini really benefits in this full moon, if this whole season you've been taking the invitations of Gemini and considering how you are your own magician, how you are the magician in your life, how you express yourself, how you express what is inside of you, how you make connections, how you tend to your body and your nervous system. Really exploring all of these Gemini themes. Now, this full moon in Sagittarius brings like a Sagittarius spice, a Sagittarius flair to all of those invitations, where Sagittarius will shoot for the stars, straight for the stars. Sagittarius spice, shooting for the stars, riding off into the sunset, like expanding and dreaming. Talk about like Knight of Swords, the idea of like going farther than your brain thinks is possible. Like the Sagittarius brain thinks anything is possible. So how do we marry that Sagittarius flair, that Sagittarius spice, with the Gemini medicine and all the Gemini work we've been doing? How can we take that work of self-expression even further in a really expansive, exploratory, like spicy, fiery way? So that's what I think this full moon is all about. On Saturday, the 18th, Mercury's shadow is finally over. Mercury will reach the degree that it was when it went retrograde. And then Tuesday, the 21st, which is the date of the next episode upload, but I want to mention it now. It's summer solstice. So the sun is above the horizon for longer than any other day of the year, at least in the northern hemisphere. This is where summer begins. Oh boy. So the summer solstice, we celebrate the sun. And it's also the day that the sun moves into Cancer. So Cancer season begins next week. Make sure to squeeze all the goodness out of Gemini season, all the goodness out of this full moon in Sagittarius before we move into Cancer season, which I will speak to you about next week. That's all I have for you for this episode. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was helpful. I am so honored that you're here for episode 6 of the Expansive Astrology Podcast. Please let me know what you think. It's still new to me, but it's been so much fun. So thank you for being here. I hope to see you next week. Take care. Bye. Now, before you go, let me keep your ear for just a moment. This week's episode is brought to you by www.theselfcarewitch.com, my bread and butter, where you can find more information on my current courses, offerings, and other fun ways to connect with myself and yourself. If you enjoyed this episode and you dig what I'm doing here, please subscribe to the podcast, rate it, and leave a review. It helps so much. And if you'd like to connect with me, head to theselfcarewitch.com. I'd truly love to hear from you. Until next time, take care.